In 2019, a challenge called SE2050 was introduced by the Carbon Leadership Forum in hopes that structural engineers shall understand, reduce, and ultimately eliminate embodied carbon in their projects by 2050. We are joined today by Reevely's embodied carbon champion, Jacob Linford, to learn more about the initiative.
So SE2050 is an initiative by structural engineers that is meant to correlate with an initiative by architects for reducing the amount of carbon that we use in our construction processes. So first off, architects are focused mainly on operational carbon, like turning the lights on and getting efficient AC systems and that kind of thing. And they're hoping to be net zero by 2030. But a realistic goal for embodied carbon is to be to net zero by 2050. We're going to need more time.
There are two types of carbon that are generated by buildings: operational and embodied. Like Jacob mentioned, operational carbon is generated during the day-to-day use of a building by things like air conditioning and light bulbs. Generation of embodied carbon, however, is a bit more complicated.
Embodied carbon is a representation of all of the carbon that is included from the production of the materials that we need from the building to the building process itself, and it even, in a truest sense, goes all the way through the life of the building if you have to add repairs or retrofits, and then the removal of that building at the end. Structural engineers are mostly focused on the part in the middle there where we're trying to reduce the amount of material that we have and use materials that are better for the carbon count on the building.
Since embodied carbon is not something that is generated over time by the daily use of buildings, its immediate impact on the environment can be difficult to measure and understand.
The problem is, especially early on in a project, you're dumping a ton of carbon into this, whereas operational carbon's more of using it daily throughout the whole building life cycle. And so if you think about, like when you're investing money, the biggest impact is if you have a large sum at the very beginning of your career, and then you get that a chance to have interest on it. Well, it's kind of the opposite effect with carbon. We're trying to meet certain goals for not increasing our global temperatures, and a lot of that is, it's important that we reduce carbon quickly in the beginning. And so there's an urgency to it in that sense that the faster we can do it, the better we can curb any impacts we may have on the environment through that.
In 2022, Reevely engineers became the first firm in Utah to commit to this initiative, and a year later, we remain the only one. While we are very proud to be trailblazers in Utah, our hope is to soon be surrounded by countless firms committed to making their impact.
There are certain things we can do that are low-hanging fruit, like we can work on our concrete mix designs and give concrete suppliers a little more flexibility to meet performance criteria rather than a very specific mix design. And the more engineers that are advocating for it on their projects, the more likely we are to actually reduce carbon on our projects. And in the end, this should be a better design. Often we'll have less material quantity, and hopefully as owners find the need for this, we'll be ready as an industry to meet that need. I think success would be just reducing our embodied carbon to net zero, and B, that it's an industry standard, that this is a conversation that comes up on every project and that we have a strategy for it in place.